Hey, okay, chapter 10. Now, if I remember rightly, 9 is starting to piece bits together. They've bumped into Gazillion, and they know that the aunt's there somewhere as well. But 9's already thinking, like, why does his aunt want Dish and the Spoon to make gold when actually she could get all the wealth she wants anyway? So 9 feels that there's something up, like Dish and Spoon are being a bit secretive. And they're not really making gold. There's something else, like their recipe. I don't know what else they could be making, but... And she's now worried because obviously they've promised the shopkeeper gold, because he thinks they've got the recipe, and now Dish and Spoon together they can go away and make gold, and he's going to be wealthy because he let them take Dish. He released Dish, and part of his compromise, or like his, well, he blackmailed them really, didn't he? He wanted gold in able to let her free because he said it wasn't worth his bother if not, like, especially crossing paths with Ophelia. No one sounds like they want to cross paths with Ophelia. She doesn't sound like someone to be messed with. So let's find out what happens in chapter 10. As 9 approached the chamber pot shaped building with desperate witches and wizards hurtling towards it, she had to admit it was a good place to do business. It was not the kind of place people wanted to hang around, and the people who did come here had more important things on their minds than poking around to see if there was anything unusual going on, except for 9. She tried to scroll casually past the line of wizards and witches, many of whom were standing with their legs crossed. At the back of the building, 9 cast her eyes around. There didn't seem to be anything odd or unusual. She mooched past the poster. Love that word, mooched. It's good, isn't it? She mooched past the poster of the wanted toilet. It briefly crossed her mind to inquire about the reward, before deciding that Flabbergasted would probably never forgive her for handing over their only proper toilet. There was a pile of discarded, chipped and broken flowery chamber pots with ominous-looking stains inside them, heaped up on the dusty ground against the curved wall of the building. She didn't fancy investigating those. No one with a grain of sense would want to investigate those. Unless that was the whole point. 9 wrinkled her nose and stepped closer to the pile. Ooh, I don't think this is going to end well, said the candle, its little flame now poking out from the satchel. 9 looked around her. Nothing. No one. She reached towards the handle of the purple chamber pot with white flowers on the top of the pile. Something's going to go wrong, sang the candle. Oh, sang the candle. Something's going to go wrong, sang the candle. Shut up, hissed 9. I'm only going to move these chamber pots and see if they're hiding anything underneath. Was this really a good idea? She reached out and grasped the handle of the purple chamber pot. Suddenly, an eye appeared in the base. 9 gasped and released the handle. The eye stared at 9. 9 stared right back. Hello, she whispered. I want to see the safekeeper. There was a silvery flash from the eye which dazzled 9. Everything in her vision turned to bright silver, and she had a sickening feeling of falling. The silveriness faded away, and 9 rubbed her aching eyes as her vision slowly returned. I said something was going to go wrong, whispered the candle in the satchel, and as 9 saw silvery ropes begin to twist around her ankles like living snakes, she had to agree. 9 stood in a cold, dark cellar lit by candles, rooted to the spot by the rope snakes which now reached up to her knees. A network of pipes ran above her and down the sides of the damp, gloomy room. It smelled of something forgotten, mixed with an odour of something rather unpleasant. A wrinkly wizard in a maroon cloak sat behind an empty wooden table. Around each table leg wound more silvery rope snakes, looking ready to strike if needed. The wizard rested his elbows on top of the table and peered at 9. His hair was grey, frizzy, and seemed to grow sideways out of his head. Nice imagery, hey? If you were to draw that, can you just imagine like little zigzags going out? His skin was deathly pale, as though he hadn't seen the light of day for several years. He stared at 9 with eyes that twinkled with mischief from behind small round spectacles. The only noise was the sound of slow, persistent dripping from the ceiling, and surely the sound of 9's heart which seemed to fill the cellar. There was no door, no window, and no way out. 9 tried to move her legs, but the ropes made an ominous hissing noise and tightened even more. Not exactly a warm welcome to your customers, 9 said, telling herself she was only shaking because of the cold, which reached right into her bones. Storing or collecting? The wizard said in a low, gravelling voice. What do you mean? 9 asked. 2 reasons people come to Safekeeper, the wizard rumbled on gruffly. Storing or an object, or collecting an object. Collecting, she said, trying to sound bolder than she felt. Something that belonged to my ma. And what would that be? Safekeeper asked cautiously. I don't know. I just know she left it with you before she died. The Safekeeper lowered his head and peered over his spectacles. That's tricky, isn't it, then? It's not yours. But my ma wants me to have it. Would she now? Lots of reasons people leave an object with Safekeeper. You don't even know what the item is. The words chilled 9. What had her ma been up to? Why had she done a secret deal with this strange wizard in this strange cellar? What if this something was dangerous and 9 wasn't meant to have it? But I tell you something, Missy, the wizard leaned closer. If something's left with Safekeeper, there's usually more than one person who wants it. It broke into a smile and his eyes gleamed again. 9 bit her lip. It hurt, but she knew little about her ma. What was it that Flabbergast had refused to tell her? Thought rolled around in her head as the Safekeeper smirked at her. What should she do now? Should she try to find it? Leave the secret buried as her ma had left it? Not so sure now, Missy. He clasped his hands together, lifted them up towards his face and rested his chin on his fingers. Do you want it? Or do you not? 9 hesitated. If only she knew more about anything. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, not knowing if she was going to fall or fly. You're wasting my time, said the Safekeeper. I don't like time wasters. He clicked his wrinkled fingers, and the silver rope snakes began to twist higher and higher around her waist. 9 fought back the panic. The ropes twisted higher, across her chest. I can't breathe. Reaching for her throat now. I want it, she cried. She breathed quickly, trying to calm herself down. The shimmering rope snakes hissed disappointingly and slid back down to her ankles. Where is it? The Safekeeper smiled. It's safe, he said, and you can only open it with a key. No key, no deal. 9 clenched her fist. I haven't got a key, she said. Fear began to give way in her frustration. You sure about that? The Safekeeper looked over his spectacles at 9 again. Your ma didn't leave you one? No, ma didn't leave me anything. Except 9's hand shot inside the satchel. Ooh, that tickles, whispered the candle. 9 pulled out her music box and stared at it. The only thing her ma had left her. The Safekeeper smiled. Now we're talking. I remember this one. Years ago. He eyed the music box. A key that looks like a key. Too obvious. Anyone can see that. But a key that looks like anything could be anything. It's there, right under your nose, and you don't even know it. 9 stared at the Safekeeper, then looked again at the music box in her slightly shaking hand. This was the key to something her ma had wanted to keep safe, but how? Said 9. How does it unlock something? Play the music, said the Safekeeper. With trembling fingers, 9 turned the handle on the music box. She thought of all the times the music box had played in her pocket's nest, the den of thieves where she had lived. The music had comforted her. But now, as the gentle tinkling music echoed through the dank, shadowy cellar, it made 9 feel unnerved. All this time, right under her nose. No, said the safekeeper. 9 stopped instantly in the music box silence. She eyed the wizard suspiciously as his eyes gleamed. Not that way. Everyone plays it that way, don't they? It's too easy. 9 then stared at the music box. Not that way. There's only one way to play a music box. A half smile crept across the safekeeper's face. He looked very pleased with himself. Is there? 9 rolled the handle thoughtfully between her cold fingers. Surely you could only turn the handle forwards to play the music box. Unless... She gripped the handle tighter, and holding her breath, she turned it slowly backwards, towards her. To her amazement, there was a chaotic twinkle of incomprehensible notes, and then, whoomp! 9 jumped and nearly dropped the music box. A little rolled-up scroll popped out of nowhere in front of the safekeeper's face. The scroll unrolled, and the wizard began to read something. Well, well, said the safekeeper. We have an unlocking. What? Said 9. What does it say? There was a little pfft, and the scroll disappeared in a puff of yellow smoke. The location where she chose to have the item hidden. Don't keep all the valuable objects here in one place, now do I? That don't sound safe to me. Anyone could break in and steal them. 9 felt frustration rising up in her again. Why couldn't anything be even remotely easy? So, where is it? Where is the thing my ma left? The flickering of a candlelight danced on the safekeeper's face. Whatever it is she left, you'll find it in the bookshop at the back of Beyond. You can clear off now. But how do I know what I'm looking for when I get there? Not my problem, said the safekeeper. Have to hope your ma thought of that. But what if I... The safekeeper rolled his eyes. Anyone ever said that you asked too many questions? Well, maybe, said 9 crossly. But how can I... The safekeeper waved his hands. There was the feeling of rope snakes releasing her ankles from their grip. Then a silvery glare filled 9's vision once more. When it passed, she found herself standing beside the pile of chamber pots, still clutching her music box. Her mind reeled. Well, now you've gone and done it, haven't you? I said you'd go and do it, and you have, chattered the voice inside her satchel. 9 stared at the music box in disbelief. All this time, she'd kept the music box, completely unaware that it held the key to something important. She tucked the precious box back into the satchel, and she fished out the candle. The little flame with the candle's face popped out of the wick. You'd better tell your friends about this. No, said 9. And remember, you don't exist, so you're not allowed to tell anyone anything about this either. No blabbing. Blab? Oh, I don't blab. Just, like to have a bit of a chin wag. Now and again, that's all. Well, pretty much all of the time. Well, don't, 9 said sharply. It's just I really think you ought to tell your friends, because this seems like really dodgy and like really dangerous, and... No, snapped 9. I'll do this by myself. Suit yourself. I will, said 9. I always will. And that there is the problem, the candle said. When I want your opinion, I'll ask for it. You may be waiting a while, 9 said, regretting her harsh words as soon as they'd left her mouth. The candle blew another large raspberry at 9 and extinguished itself. 9 huffed and put the candle back into her satchel. Not helping you find the bookshop now, muttered the candle sulkily from inside the bag. I don't need your help anyway. But 9 walked through the town. Those words felt really uneasy. Until she had found the house at the edge of magic, she had spent her life alone, dealing with her problems and her secrets all alone. She thought of the troll's drooping tail, and of the candle's pleading. Doubt crept like a nervous twitching shadow, but she had no time for it. She had a bookshop to find. And that takes us to chapter 11.